Hi there, Gemini. I'm EllaAradia, and welcome to your February 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Gemini air signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's going to resonate a little bit differently for all of you. But what I find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Gemini signs. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoyed this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Gemini, let's jump in. So I always like to tune into the energies first, Gemini, before I start pulling any cards. I'm seeing quite a major shift in your circles, let's call it. So it could be friendship circles, it could be work related. But I'm seeing you moving into, a new chapter somehow on that level, where the connections that you have, like many of the connections that you have, are going to shift and change. There's really this energy that I'm feeling around kind of moving away from anything that feels unhealthy in some way, one-sided or toxic, or just feeling these energies around you of, perhaps a little bit of negativity, or, people that perhaps have kind of got into the habit of, complaining or something like that, because I'm just feeling these energies around you. It's often a way that people connect, actually, through, focusing on the negatives and kind of complaining about things. And then it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, I have kind of that. And sometimes certain people, they do connect on that level. But I'm feeling, a real calling for like a major shift. And for some of you, this might be involving kind of cutting ties with a certain situation, a job, a friendship, even a relationship. Because something in you is changing, and sometimes if we stay too long in certain connections like that, it starts to pull our energy down. And that's what I'm feeling with you. With your overall energies, we have the Nine of Pentacles. Some of you may be working, towards a life where there is much more of that financial freedom, creating that abundance that will actually give you that financial freedom moving forwards. And sometimes that does involve, I feel, having the right people around you that actually, support you and encourage you, to grow and to evolve and expand. They want the best for you. What lies in your recent past, the Ten of Pentacles, which is all about that. It's all about, working towards something to build for the long term. Ten of Pentacles energy is very often, all about, leaving a legacy sometimes, especially for those of you that have family, building something for the future, not just for you, but for your family as well. This is all about building for the long term, and, putting energy into something which, really is going to, stand the test of time. And it's all about, building those strong foundations. So I definitely feel that many of you are working towards, perhaps a career shift, a new project, something like this. working towards creating that life of, you know, financial security and stability. Your current energies, we have strength, facing fears, insecurities, you know, finding the courage to perhaps work through, you know, any limiting negative beliefs that maybe you might be holding about yourself that might be blocking you from, you know, taking whatever those next steps forward are. Because for some of you, this might be, you know, something where it's much more moving into some kind of life purpose for you. And very often, you know, things around, you know, self-doubt, or am I good enough? Do I have all the skills that I need moving forwards? You know, sometimes things like that can start to kind of go through our minds, and it can be something that kind of holds you back and limits you. So you are being asked, I feel, to push through, you know, any fears or insecurities around, you know, whatever direction you are kind of currently starting to move in. Your feelings towards your situation, the Five of Swords, this is often a card of conflict. And it's also an energy of, like I was saying at the beginning, cutting ties with toxic situations, people, places, situations which feel unhealthy. And there may be some energies of conflict. You know, this may relate to a certain, you know, relationship for some of you. There may have been conflict. There may have been questions around, you know, is this someone that you are going to kind of continue to, you know, build a future with here? There may have been conflict in the workplace for some of you, which may have created this situation where we're seeing the Strength card, you know, whatever position that's left you in, you know, is one where you've had to really kind of, you know, dig deep and do some soul searching and, you know, really find that courage to move forwards from. Five of Swords often speaks of, you know, these kind of ego-driven battles where, you know, there is this need to be right. Now, that could be you, that could be the person that this is connected to. But it often is an energy which comes at a cost. And sometimes walking away and, you know, choosing peace or choosing, you know, an energy of a peaceful resolution is sometimes the best thing in these situations. But it's also a card of cutting ties. And what lies in your challenge is the Empress, which is all about rebirth. That's the challenge, the letting go of, you know, whatever this situation is, whether it's related to a person or a job, a challenge around a transition of, you know, what might happen if you walk away from something, if you cut ties with someone. A challenge around letting go, a fear perhaps of, you know, the conflict that perhaps that might cause. But there is an invitation, you know, for some kind of new beginning for you here, Gemini. This is all about, you know, new ideas, manifesting, creating, rebirth. You know, this is the transition that you're in right now that I see in your life. You know, the folding, the closing of, you know, one big chapter of your life and moving in to something new. You know, we're always changing, we're always, you know, growing and evolving. And sometimes, you know, there are certain things or certain connections which, you know, are just no longer aligned with, you know, who we are now. And, not everything is meant to go with you moving forwards. And so, it may be to just take a step back and take a pause and really have a deeper look at, perhaps some of the connections around you, and just work out, who or what, are you really meant to take moving forwards here? Because we do always take something, but sometimes there are things which, we do have to allow to perhaps just come to a close. And it's okay. It's okay to, let go of, anything which is feeling, unhealthy for you. It's important to look after yourself and, nurture yourself. This is also a card of, self-care. So with your hidden influence here, we have the Hierophant. So you're being asked to, just keep the faith, trust yourself moving forwards. And the Hierophant is, in career, I would say that that's about, getting guidance from perhaps people that have trodden the path before you, mentors. In love, this is all about building connections with someone that shares, the same similar kinds of, core values to you and beliefs. It's all about building those strong foundations. But it's also a card of keeping the faith. It's also a card of, your connection to the divine, let's say, your connection to, those higher, wiser aspects of yourself, and really trusting in that moving forwards. There is a higher intelligence inside all of us, that is always guiding us. Just as much as we feel guided by the universe, it's also something that's within you. So being asked to just, trust the direction, to, keep that faith moving forwards. Get advice, where you need to, but go with your own truth as well. Your advice from the universe, the Five of Wands. It's often a card of, again, we've got the Five of Swords, the Five of Wands, conflict, competition. This may, I feel, represent a little bit of a conflict that's perhaps still inside of you that you need to resolve. It's not easy sometimes to let go of certain connections, especially when you have a history with that person, or a job that you've perhaps been in for some years or something like that. And so there may be a little bit of a conflict here. But at the same time, whatever this relates to, I just feel these energies of, something being imbalanced around the kind of the give and take in terms of, feeling supported, feeling celebrated for who you really are. I feel like you've got a lot of energies around you of people that, are maybe a little bit wrapped up in themselves. And, it's an equal exchange is always really important. I do feel for some of you, this may relate to a relationship here where there's just this energy of not feeling celebrated for who you are, not feeling supported in that way. And so, of course, those energies are getting out of balance because there is this sense of, feeling like your needs are not being met in this situation. You're needing more from your person. And it may be that, when you choose to stay true to you and look after your needs, this may well be, what this conflict has been about. Some of you may have taken a step back. It may be that, this person steps up for you. Because I do see somebody kind of appearing, from the past. and stepping forwards and stepping up. So that may well happen for you. You know, sometimes when we change, the dynamic changes. Not always, but it can happen. In the outcome, we have the Tower, which is all about just letting things crumble that are really meant to do that. You know, it can sometimes be sudden change and upheaval. And it's very much an energy of, you know, letting things fall apart that are meant to. It's about trusting that sometimes, because whatever it is that is breaking down here, it is something that's meant to, because it's meant to be put back together in a better way. So there's some kind of Tower moment. You may be in that right now. It may be coming up for you, but it's very often a necessary change. Sometimes relationships, you know, they can hit Tower moments. And sometimes it's to let it fall. It's about not clinging to the past. But sometimes it can get put back together in a better way moving forwards. But the message really is about how you approach this change that's coming up for you, because I do see a major change, and I feel like it's about, you know, trusting what's unfolding, you know, because whatever is breaking down, there's something unhealthy about it. And ultimately, you know, something needs to change moving forwards. And that's when the Tower comes in, when some kind of necessary change really needs to happen. So, you know, it's, yeah, I mean, the card looks a little bit negative, but it's actually something, you know, that is positive, that will lead you into a better place here. So it's really about, you know, just trusting what's unfolding, and, you know, approaching it with that energy, because you will come out the other side and it will ultimately lead you into a better place. So trust the process, Gemini, and I'm going to leave it there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.